welcome back to another video. So today we are going to go over some different blending techniques and color combinations, and I'm going to show you how to put together color combinations, and then I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can blend your colored pencils. If you decide you want to follow along with this tutorial, I have just taken a sheet of the Spring Hill paper and I put boxes on it, and all I did was use my ruler here, and then I got a pencil and I just drew these boxes, and I just made sure that I measured them so they had the same distance between each one of them. They're not perfect, they don't need to be perfect, but if you want to follow along you can do the same thing on a sheet of paper. And if you have the Spring Hill paper, go ahead and grab that, because it's much easier to blend your colored pencils on a paper that is meant for colored pencils that is much toothier, like the Spring Hill paper. If you check the description box below, you will find links down there for my Facebook group, my email list, my Etsy store, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled out my color combination and blending workbook, because a lot of this that I'm going to share with you in this video is contained within this workbook, but this workbook is going to allow you to practice it on your own over and over as many times as you need to or want to. And this workbook is available in my Etsy shop, and I always have the link down in the description box below if you're interested in grabbing a copy of this for yourself. And I'm just going to show you exactly what is inside the workbook and what some of the pages look like. Of course, this is not the whole workbook. The whole entire workbook is 29 pages. This workbook is a complete and full tutorial, and then it contains lots of worksheets for you to be able to practice on. I share examples with you, and I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. But this is just the cover of the workbook. Of course, you can print it out in color, but I like to save the ink in my printer. But this is a complete step-by-step comprehensive interactive tutorial, and this is the first page, and as you can see, it is very step-by-step. I provide you with lots of important tips. And then the whole workbook is just a step-by-step tutorial. I believe this is the first page of the workbook. And then we are probably going to skip ahead here. So yeah, we are already on step 4. So there are steps 1 to 3. And then this is step 4, and it is complete, very thorough directions on how you're going to put your colors together and how to lay your colors down on the paper, how to create the color combinations, how to blend them together. And then I have my example here. Of course, like I said, this would be in color. I am using Prismacolors in this workbook, but you don't have to use Prismacolors. You can use any colored pencil set that you would like to use. Here's another helpful hint, just letting you know that it's best to rotate your colored pencils as you create your layers, and so that will help you to keep a sharp lead on your pencil. And there are little helpful hints and tips and tricks throughout the pages of the workbook. And then this is what the worksheets look like. This page is actually once you get to creating 4 color blends. And so it shows you how to add another color in. It actually starts with 3 color blends. So there's an entire worksheet that looks like this that just has 3 spaces in each one of these boxes, where you're initially just learning how to put 3 colors together and how to lay them down, how to get a smooth transition between the transition lines. And then we have step-by-step instructions teaching you how to insert another color and create a 4th color in your 3 color blend, making it a 4 color blend. But the entire workbook is full of worksheets just like this one, and then there are even more worksheets, and it shows you from 3 color combinations all the way to 5 color combinations. And then once you get past 5 color combinations, you should be able to just make 6 color combinations and 7 color combinations, and so on and so forth. And if you purchase this worksheet as a bundle, you're also going to get a lot of color combination charts, and this is what they look like. And so this is 3 color combinations. It starts at 3 color combinations and goes all the way up for 10 to 10 when you get much more advanced. So here's the 4 color combinations, and then of course you're going to have 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 10 if you purchase it like that. In the color combination charts, if you just want to practice your color combinations and create a notebook or a binder to keep them in and go back and reference them, this is available as a separate purchase to where you could just purchase it all by itself, where you're just getting all of the color combination charts. but that is my workbook. And a lot of you have already purchased this and you're really enjoying practicing in it. And I just want to say, for all of you that have supported me and my Etsy shop and purchased this workbook or anything else from my Etsy shop, thank you so much for supporting me in that way. I really appreciate it because I really work really hard to bring all of these things to you. And there will definitely be more content coming to my Etsy store very, very soon. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the tutorial part of this video, and I'm going to go over some different blending techniques with you. But first I want to show you how I put together my color combinations and how I choose my colors. So I'm going to start here with a green color combination, and I'm going to show you how to blend the colors together, how to create smooth transitions, and I'm going to show you everything that is taught in my workbook, but my workbook is going to go much further in depth than this. So when you're putting together your colors, you want to make sure that your colors have a great difference in value. So you want to make sure your darkest of your three colors is very, very dark, and then your mid-tone is quite a bit lighter than your darkest color. And then your lightest color is very, very light. And this is going to help you for when you want to come back and you want to add in another color at that transition. You will be able to look at your swatch chart and go ahead and stick a color in right between this one and this one, or your mid-tone and your lightest color, to create a 4-color combination. So I will say the one thing I don't have for my Prismacolors is a swatch chart. And I know I am always telling all of you to make sure you swatch out your colored pencils. The only reason I don't have a swatch chart for my Prismacolors is because I'm so familiar with my Prismacolors that I just pull colors. I know exactly what colors go together, and I've worked with them for years now. So I just know exactly what I want to pull and what I want to put together. So I don't ever worry about a swatch chart. I really need to sit down and swatch those out. I have a swatch chart for every other single colored pencil set that I own except the Prismacolors. So those of you that are not familiar with your Prismacolors, I suggest pulling out your swatch chart, and it makes it very easy to look at it and be able to choose your colors. Let me grab another swatch chart and I'm going to show you how to do that on your swatch chart. Okay, so I pulled out my Black Widow swatch chart. For those of you that are wondering, this is also available in my Etsy shop. I have a video where I put all of these in color family order. I then created the swatch chart, made it available in my Etsy shop, so all y'all have to do is just swatch your pencils. And if you want it just like this, I also have this exact swatch chart available as well, where all the colors are already swatched. Now, when you're looking at your swatch chart and you're trying to choose your colors, let's say we were going to go with blues. Now, I like to keep all my swatch charts in these protective sheets, and so that way it makes it easy for me just to be able to pull them out like this, and then I can take them and put them together. So this is all of the colors in the Black Widow set. And so I just do that with it. And so it makes it much easier for me to look at. So I've got more blues over here. So this makes it very easy for me to just look at my blues right up against one another. So if I were choosing blues, I could look at this and I could immediately just pick a mid-tone, because you can clearly always look at this and tell exactly what colors are sort of in the middle. And so I would look right over here and I can tell that these colors are right in the middle. So say I wanted to choose something like Blue Horizon, then I would just look at it and I would think, okay, well, I just need a darker color. And looking at them right up against one another, I could either go right up over here and hold this right next to it, and I could take the Blue Horizon and I could add in one of these much darker colors. I could go with something like Blue Moon if I wanted to, or even something like this Zephyr Blue that is very dark, and that would give me the ability to add another color in between there when I came back and I added my 4th color for my color combination. And then I would just tack on another color to create a 3-color combination, and I would come down here where the colors are much lighter and I would probably choose something like this Pleasant Blue. And you could clearly tell by looking at these two right next to one another that this one is fairly darker than this Pleasant Blue here. And of course, in any budget set, you're really not going to have a very light blue like you get with the Prismacolor set. This is my favorite blue in the Prismacolor set. This is the Sky Blue Light, and I absolutely love it. It is super, super light, but we're gonna do a blue color combination today, and I pulled that one out just to be able to show you and demonstrate that. So we are gonna get to a blue color combination as well today in this tutorial, but that is how you would use your swatch charts, and that's why swatch charts are so very important, especially if you are not familiar with your colored pencil set like I am with my Prismacolors. I do still need to swatch out my Prismacolors though. Okay, so then when I'm done with my swatch, I just take it and I put them back like this, and then I just slide them back in to the protective sleeve. And these are very easily available on Amazon, and they're super cheap. I think you could get, they have one where you could get like 50 of them for, I think it was like $5 or something like that. So it was a really good deal. I was looking around on Amazon the other day, and just make sure when you purchase them, you don't have any like funky like branding or anything over here. Like I really dislike that. I saw the Amazon Basics one, and it literally says Amazon Basics right up here on this part of the swatch chart, and I just don't, or this part of the protective sleeve, and I just don't want anything like that on my protective sleeves. I like them to be nice and clear and clean and beautiful. Okay, so we are going to start with greens, and so I have dark green, Kelly green, and pale sage. Pale sage is one of my absolute favorite colors to use when I'm putting together color combinations that have greens in them. I do actually have a video, and I'll link it up in the upper right hand corner, where I shared all my favorite highlight colors in the Prismacolor set, and you can look at that video and just take all of those highlight colors and even separate them or make notes and write all of those down. So anytime you want to choose a certain color family and you want a highlight color, you could just pull one of those highlight colors, and those colors will just automatically go with whatever color family you are wanting to use for your coloring pages. So I'm going to show you the difference in these colors, and I'm going to use this sheet of paper first because I want you to see the great difference in the values of the color. So here is the dark green. So this is the Kelly green, and this is the pale sage. Now look how pretty those are together. They are just so, so pretty together. These would make a great leaf combination, and that's one of the reasons I am going to use these colors today, because I know y'all are always looking for leaf combinations and flower combinations. So you could see the difference in the values of these colors. This one is much darker than this one, and then this one is much lighter than this one. And if I wanted to turn this into a 4-color combination later, I can always come in here and add another color right in here at the transition, and I can also do the same thing here between these two colors as well. Okay, so for this tutorial, we are going to start with our dark color, and we are going to move down to our lightest color, and I find that makes it easier when you're first starting, and I'm going to show you why. So if I come up here and I lay my darkest color, I'm going to lay this down, and as I come into the area where I want to transition my color, I'm going to pull up on my pencil just a little bit, and that's going to help to make a very smooth transition between the two colors. So then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use my Kelly green, and I'm going to start right about here, and I'm going to fill this in and create that transition right there, and then I'm going to fill the center. And as I come down, I'm going to do the same thing that I did up here, where I went from the darkest color to the mid-tone, and I'm just lifting up on my pencil so that when I come back here with my pale sage, I can just start right about here where the transition is, and I can blend that color right into that one and pull it all the way down. And so you can see I've got a transition here and a transition here, and they both flow very nicely in both of these areas. So I'm going to come back up here, and we're going to need to lay a second layer down, and of course I'm going to pull up as I come into that transition area so that again these colors flow together very nicely and you cannot see where they meet. And I'm going to do the same thing again with my lightest color. Now, when you come back, you could either do it when you come back the second time and lay your second layer, or you can do it when you lay your third layer down. I just really wanted to get a nice consistent layer down there, so I went the same direction. But now I'm going to come back and I am going to use sort of a circular motion, and I'm going to fill in some of that white, and I'm going to pull this down as I lift up on my pencil once again into that transition area where that mid-tone is. Then I'm going to come back again, and I'm going to start at that transition. I'm going to move my pencil again in a circular type motion. And as I come down into the lightest color again, I'm just going to lift up just a little bit to make sure that transition is nice and smooth. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my lightest color. And you could see that a lot of the white of the paper is already starting to disappear. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this again with the dark green. And if you just keep doing this over and over, layer after layer, you will see that the white of the paper starts to disappear. And just always make sure you lift up as you come into that lighter color, because there is a pretty big difference in the values of these colors. And so you want to make sure that you are lifting up so that the transition area looks pretty smooth. You can see how smooth this is. You can't even hardly tell where that transition is. In your transition area, you will be able to see a little bit of a difference in where the color changes, and that's those two colors blending together. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to lay another layer, and I'm going to try covering some of the white of this paper just a little bit more. Okay, so quite a bit of the white is now gone, and this is a gorgeous color combination. Like I said, if you want to write down some of these color combinations, or even if you're following along with me, that's wonderful. But I would write down some of these combinations as well, and I would set them aside. So next time you're coloring leaves or something, you've already got a color combination that is put together, and you could just start coloring. Okay, so for this one here, we are just going to leave it like that, because the next one, I'm going to lay these colors down, and then I'm going to show you how to burnish the colors together. I'm going to first lay down my dark green, and just like I did before, I'm going to do the same thing where I lift up and then come back with my mid-tone right at that transition and pull that down to where I want to lay my highlight. And then I am going to come right over that transition line, creating another color or a blend of those two colors, and then pull it all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go the other direction, and I'm lifting up as I come into there, and I'm kind of doing this motion where I'm just kind of making lines up and down, and I'm lifting up as I come into that center there. And then I'm going to start from the transition area and come down with this color right into that lightest color. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my highlight color or my lightest color. And now I'm going to go back the other direction really quick. And then I'm going to come back and lay another layer. And I want to cover most of the white of the paper here. Okay, so we're going to burnish all of these colors together, and we're going to use the white Prismacolor. And the reason I left this one the way that I did without blending it in yet is because I want to show you the difference and what happens when you come back with the white Prismacolor and blend all of your colors together. Anytime I'm doing any kind of blending, I like to start with my lightest color and move into the darkest color. And the reason I do that is because the tip of your Prismacolor is going to pick up the darkest color, and it's going to get some of that on the tip of the pencil. And I'm looking at this now, and it has a little bit of red or orange on it, so I'm going to color with it a little bit off to the side. I don't know if you could see that, but right here I just colored, and you could see these couple of little marks right here where I must have used it with a red. And you don't want to get that into your new colors or whatever it is you're working on. So you want to make sure that you've got a nice clean tip on either your blender pencil, your white pencil, whatever it is you're using. So I like to start at the bottom because this color will run into the other colors. So if I start with the lightest one, I'm going to ensure that I am not taking some of that darker color and pulling it into the lighter color. You could see as I go over this how it's changing the color quite a bit, and it is getting rid of the white of the paper. But this is one way to burnish your colors together, and it's going to give you a very smooth, almost painted look. And then I'm going to clean off my pencil just a little bit because I want to get some of that darker green off of there. And then I'm going to come back at the top again, and I'm going to go the opposite direction and really burnish these colors together. And because I came back in here at the darkest color, I'm just going to clean a little bit of that off again. After it has been burnished out, it really doesn't matter as much where you start because the colors are already burnished. You've got that white film over there now. I don't know if you could see that, but we all know that the Prismacolors get a little bit crummy. Is that a word? You see what I mean? See all the dust here? And if you're coloring and you're doing this on a coloring page, you don't want that on your coloring page because that will stay and it will sort of get into the tooth of the paper. It will actually leave marks on your background. And oh my goodness, I had a brush and I cannot find it anywhere. So when this happens to you, all you have to do is just blow it off. Just like that. But you can see there are still some marks here. A brush is going to work much, much better. And I picked up a brush. I actually did a shop with me, and I went to this one discount store. I can't even remember off the top of my head what it was right now, but I got a brush for $1. You could get them for $1 anywhere, the Dollar Tree anywhere, but they are so super cheap. And then you just take them and just a regular makeup brush, but you just take them and you just take the dust from the pencil off of your paper so that that doesn't happen. But let's go ahead and look at these because you could see the difference. Look at the difference in the one where I used the white Prismacolor and the one that I didn't use the white Prismacolor. And now I'm going to show you a third way to blend your colored pencils together. So I'm going to speed this up while I go ahead and lay the colors down. So I have all the colors laid down the way that I want them. Another way that you could come back and burnish all of your colors out, and I left this one again just the way that it is so you could see the difference in all of them. And then I'm going to come back for this one and I'm going to show you another way, but I wanted to leave that one the way it is for now just so you could see the difference in all three ways. And one thing that I do want to mention is when you're coming in here and you're laying down your layers, try not to use very hard pressure because once you damage the tooth of the paper, you're not going to be able to come back and lay any more layers down. Now, I could lay down a whole lot more layers, but for the sake of the video and the time that I have, I'm just laying down minimal layers enough to cover most of the white of the paper, and then we are going to come back and do the burnishing. So you don't need a whole lot of layers. You could see that I maybe laid down maybe 5 layers. I wasn't counting, but I think it was about that many. If you want to count, you can go ahead and count. But I don't usually ever count how many layers I'm laying down. I just lay them down until they look the way that I want them to look. Okay, so for this one, we're going to use our lightest color, which was the Pale Sage, and we are going to blend all of the colors together using the Pale Sage. And again, I'm going to start here at the bottom, and of course at the bottom, it's just going to add another layer, and then we're going to pull up into our darkest color. And I'm sort of going in a circular motion over that mid-tone right up into the dark green, which was our darkest color. And already you could see a difference in using your lightest color and using your white Prismacolor. I'm going to go over this one more time. I need to go ahead and just take off some of that color because now I've got that darkest color on there. But I want to show you this again. See how I had that darkest color in there? Now, if I'm going into my lightest color and I'm going to pull that through, say I was coloring a flower or something, or let's say a leaf since we're using greens, but say I was coloring a leaf, I didn't want to go back into my highlight area. That would have came off into my highlight area, and I don't want that to happen. You want to avoid that. Okay, so I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to go the opposite direction now, and I'm going to burnish this even more. And I am using harder pressure now. The lower you hold your fingers to the tip of the pencil, you will be able to put more pressure behind that tip. Now, look at the difference in all three of these. Is that so super cool? Like, you could see a total difference depending on how you decide to burnish your colors together. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't always have to burnish your colors together. This one was not burnished. I just worked on filling most of the white of the paper. You could even still see some of the white, and I could come back and lay another layer down, but I chose not to because I am going to use this one to show you another way to blend. So this one is with the white Prismacolor, and this one is with my lightest color, which was the pale sage, and you could see a big difference in the colors. You could see that the white one, it sort of leaves this white film over the top, and I have stopped using my white Prismacolor to burnish my colors together. It's an option and you can do it. I just really didn't like it anymore how it left this white film over the top of my colors, and I like my colors to look much more vibrant. Now for this last one, I'm going to show you how I use my blender pencil. This is my Prismacolor blender pencil. And because I'm using Prismacolors, I'm going to go ahead and use the Prismacolor blender because I find that the Prismacolor blender right now is the easiest one to get if you prefer this method of blending or burnishing. And I'm going to show you again. Apparently I was using orange. So I'm going to make sure I get all that off there before I bring it to a coloring page, if I was coloring on a coloring page and coloring something new, because that orange would have gotten right into my green. So I'm going to start at the bottom once again, and I'm just going to work my way up and blend these colors together. And now you see why I waited till the end to do this one, because I wanted you all to see the difference in colors. And you could see how this is just, I'm using pretty hard pressure, but it's basically getting rid of the tooth of the paper and it's pulling all these colors together. You could see the white of the paper going away because it's really just pulling all of the colors into one another. And another thing you could do is, like I just did, turn it around as you come back into your lightest color so you don't get that dark color that's on the tip of your pencil or your blender into the lightest color. And then here, I don't have as much dust as I did with the other ones, but still just blow it away or brush it away. When you use the blender pencil, you get a very seamless look just like this. You are not going to get rid of the color. Here where I use the lightest color, this is actually a blend of the darkest color and the lightest color, creating a whole new color. And that's great, but for me, when I'm coloring, I don't usually burnish out my colors just because I want to keep the vibrancy and the darkness of the colors, and I don't as much prefer the painted look. You could see this one looks very painted. I don't know how else to really describe it, but it has that painted look, and that's fine. But all of us are different. We all have our own coloring style and whatever we prefer. And this video will help you take a look at this and see which one you prefer for your coloring pages, or maybe you've tried several different ways to blend and you have found one preferred method that you really like, and that's wonderful. But what I really like and prefer is this one, and a lot of times I don't even use the blender. I just use my colored pencils just to fill the white of the paper, and I don't even come back with a blender. But you could see the difference the blender made. But also just coming back and adding another couple layers to this color combination would have done the same thing as the blender pencil. The blender pencil really just helps you to get rid of a few steps is what it's doing, because it's helping you to blend all those colors together much more thoroughly and getting rid of the white of the paper. So now let's move on to the next section of boxes over here. And for this one, we're going to create a 3-color combination, and then I'm going to show you how to turn it into a 4-color combination. And I've not yet decided what I'm going to do over here for the last one. So I have chosen some colors, and I'm going to show you the difference in the values of these colors by swatching them out for you. But I have indigo blue, which is PC 901, blue slate, PC 1024. This is one of my favorite colors to use with any blue color combination. It is very pale, but it still has a little bit of brightness to it, and at the same time it's very light. So you could see that the difference in the values of these colors is pretty big, and I made sure I sharpened all the leads on my pencils. And I'm going to show you the difference in these colors just by swatching them out here before I get into the tutorial part. And here's the lightest color. Look how pretty that sky blue light is. Isn't that gorgeous? But those colors look really pretty together. And so we are going to use them right over here, and we're going to create our first color combination with just these three colors. So I'm going to start by laying the darkest color, and I'm going to go ahead and lay all of these down because I already showed you how I lay them down and I've shared the color combination with you. So now that you know how we lay the colors down, I'm going to go ahead and lay these down here and speed this up. Okay, so I'm going to stop it here because I just really want to be able to mention something, because I find that this makes it a lot easier, especially if you're a beginner trying to blend your colors together and get a seamless transition here in this transition area where you're coming between one color, your darkest tone and your midtone, or your midtone and your lightest tone. Now, if you saw me, and like I mentioned earlier, it seems to be much easier to do this stroking motion as you're coming down into that transition area, and it makes it so that you're able to just go like this and pick up on the pencil as you're coming into this area here. And then when you come down, or when you come back with your midtone, you can easily go back into that transition area, use a little bit harder pressure at the top there, blending those colors together and pulling it right down into the lightest color. And as you come into the lightest color, or you bring that midtone into the lightest color, you could see that I'm using this motion here and I'm lifting up on my pencil. And that's going to help you to create a much smoother transition. But look how pretty these colors are together. Okay, so like I did with the last one, I'm going to leave that one just like that for now. And I'm going to show you how to add in a color between this darkest color here, which was the indigo blue, and this color here, which was the blue slate. Now, here's my scratch paper. I always recommend that you keep a scratch paper off to the side, even if you have a swatch sheet. Use your swatch sheet, try to use your swatch sheet to pick your colors and decide what can go in between these two, and then always swatch it out to make sure your colors are going to go good together. So I did already pick this before I started filming the video, so I have denim blue, and I'm going to show you the difference in these colors and how this denim blue just fits right there in between those two. So if you look at the indigo blue, I think I laid a couple more layers down on this one. If I lay this down as many layers as I laid down this denim blue, you can see that this is much darker than this is. And this is going to add a little bit of a contrast because the blues have a little bit of a different hue and they're very pretty. So I'm going to come over here and add another layer to this one. And you could see the difference in these, and this one is going to insert right into here beautifully. And I'll just add another layer of the skylight blue, or sky blue light. But now we're going to put all of them together. Now that we laid them out, we could see that they will probably look good together. We're going to go ahead and lay them out on our combination sheet and blend them together. So again, I'm going to start with my darkest color, and I'm doing the same thing that I did earlier. And for every one of these, where I'm lifting up as I come into that transition space. Now, I think I came down a little bit too low because I do need to add 4 colors to this one. So I'm going to come right up here, right about 4th way, and I'm going to go right over this color. Maybe I didn't go down too far. It's probably going to be in just the perfect place because those colors are going to create a blend of another color. And then I'm going to pull it right down right about halfway so I could come back in with the other color. So now I'm going to go over that transition area once again, using a little bit harder pressure, and then I'm going to pull down to where I'm going to add my highlight. And then I'm going to come back with my sky blue light, and I'm going to lay that down. And then of course we need to come back with a second layer. And this is going to help to fill a lot of that white of the paper. And I'm pulling this right down into that second color. And then I'm going to come back and do the same thing with this denim blue. And I'm going to pull that into my transition area right there. If you could see the colors blending together just the way that they should as I lift up on that pencil. And then I'm going to come back and lay another layer of the blue slate. And I'm going to start here at the transition and look at that beautiful blend of those colors. And the white of the paper is starting to fill in quite a bit more. And I'm going to pull it down into my lightest color. These colors are really pretty together. And we probably need one more layer because you could see by looking at these, we have a lot more layers, or at least a couple more layers down here. So we need to come back and go over this indigo blue. This indigo blue can get very, very dark, and you don't need to use a lot of pressure. If it helps, hold your fingers back a little bit further, but as you continue to layer layers, it's okay to use a little bit more pressure. But when you're coming into that transition, just make sure you're lifting up. And I'm going to go in sort of a circular motion, and then I'm going to get my next color and start at that transition and cover that white of the paper. Again, using a circular motion, pulling that down into the transition area. And these two colors, the blend of these two colors is so pretty. Look at that. Look at that new color that it's creating right there where they're blending together. It almost looks like we used 5 colors. And then I'm going over this and I'm pulling this down into where we're going to transition there into our highlight color. And I'm pulling this all the way down. Okay, so this is the difference between a 3-color combination and a 4-color combination. And you could even look at this one, and this almost looks like it's 4 colors as well, because right here in this transition, you could see that the indigo blue and what was that one? The blue slate, they actually created another color right here. That's really, really pretty. So it actually looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. And that's the beauty of blending your colored pencils. And then over here where we have 4 colors that we used, it actually looks like we have more than that, because here at this transition, this color and this color, this was the denim blue. So the denim blue and the blue slate also right here created a very beautiful, bright, vibrant color right there at that transition. Okay, so I think for this one over here, I'm gonna lay the colors down a little bit differently, and I'm gonna speed it up while I do that. Then I'm gonna use 2 different tools to blend the colors together, and so you could see the difference between what it looks like at the bottom and what it looks like at the top. So when I do this one, I am going to lay my darkest color at the bottom and the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and while I'm doing this, I'm gonna speed this up. So I have all the colors laid down, and you can see it looks a little bit different because I laid the darker color at the top and the bottom. I want you to be able to see, just being able to compare the top and the bottom, how different it's going to look when we use 2 different blending methods. So I think we're going to go with using the blender pencil and using the lightest color. So we're going to use the lightest color on the top, which was our sky blue light. And so of course I'm going to start here in the center, and I'm going to go in a circular motion, and I'm going to start blending these colors together. And you could see that the white of the paper is starting to go away, and all of the colors are sort of coming together. The colors are changing, because now by doing that, we're actually getting a blend of the colors. And so you could see the difference here in what it used to look like and what it looks like now, because all of those colors have now been blended together. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to use the blender pencil, and you'll be able to see a huge difference. I'm going to come in here and start at the halfway mark from the lightest color, and I'm going to go in a circular motion as I move into the mid-tone and then the darker colors. And I'm just going to blend all these colors together. This color combination is beautiful. So like I said, make sure you're writing down some of these color combinations so you can use them. This one is with the lightest color, and this one is with the blender pencil. You'll have to let me know in the comments which way you prefer to burnish out your colors, or even if you enjoy burnishing out your colors, or you like to just leave them and just use the colors that you're using like I do. That's the method I prefer. Okay, so those were some different ways that you can use to blend your colored pencils together. I was able to show you how to put your colors together, and I hope I did that in a very easy to understand way. And also how to lay those colors down so that you can get a very smooth transition. I shared a bunch of different ways you could blend your colors together after you have them laid down on your paper or your coloring page. And I don't generally like to use any kind of solvents. I just don't even keep those in my house or in my art studio. I like my colored pencils to be able to blend all on their own. And usually I don't even use a blender pencil. I have the blender pencil. I'll use it every once in a while. And if I do use them, I usually use my Caran d'Ache blender pencil, but I only use them in certain instances. But you'll have to let me know in the comments below which way you prefer to blend your colored pencils. But I hope this video was helpful. If you want lots more practice or you want to continue practicing, you can go to my Etsy shop. I will have the link down below for my color combination and blending workbook. And there are lots of tips and tricks and helpful hints and worksheets and practice sheets. And it's a full and complete step-by-step comprehensive interactive tutorial. And then if you purchase it in the bundle, you'll have plenty of color combination sheets to be able to practice on. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Happy coloring. Bye.